This is an introduction to Oracle database, Part 1. My name is Shaji Balakrishnan. Before we understand Oracle database, we should understand what is data. A data is a collection of facts and figures related to any subject, any object, or anything. As you can see on the screen, some word, characters, numbers, etc., they are all called facts and figures. Here the data is related to students' marks. Data is a collection of facts and figures. A data is not organized, not arranged, and meaningless unless and until this data is not processed. We have to process this data to generate meaningful information. For processing, here we are going to use a database. There are many popular databases available in the market, say Oracle, Microsoft SQL Server, MySQL, and Postgres, and so on. But we are going to learn here Oracle database. Oracle database system is produced and marketed by Oracle Corporation. Oracle has a data processing software called DBMS. That's why we are using Oracle here. This is going to process our data. DBMS stands for Database Management System. It is designed to store, retrieve, define, and manage data in a database. The data here is stored in a file format. But Oracle has an advanced version or newer version of DBMS called RDBMS, Relational Database Management System. In this system, the data is stored in a tabular form, that is in the form of rows and columns. All the modern databases like Microsoft SQL Server, MySQL, PostgreSQL, etc. uses RDBMS. Here, the data is stored in table format to access the data fast and accurate. So, we are going to process our data. For processing our data, we have to take the help of RDBMS. And RDBMS understands only one language, that is SQL, Structured Query Language. So, if you want to process our data, we have to issue commands in the form of SQL. After processing the data, our data will be presented in a tabular form, something like this. Let's see more closely. Here is the data, or here is our data, which is scattered, unorganized, meaningless. We call it as unprocessed data. We are going to send this data for processing to generate meaningful information out of it. RDBMS is going to help us to process our data, and we need to process our data using SQL commands, because RDBMS understands SQL language. Once the data is processed, the data is presented in the form of a table, which contains rows and columns, column headings, and a table name. So, after processing, Now our scattered unorganized data is presented in a form of tabular form having rows and columns. Let's see more closely what is a table. A table has a name. Here it is marks. It has a table heading, say column headers. Roll number, name, physics, chemistry, biology. We have rows. There can be n number of rows. Thousands and lakhs of records will be stored here. We call it as rows, records. Sometimes we also call tuples. It has columns as roll number, name, etc. We sometimes call it as fields and attributes. So, for example, we have table 1, table 2, table 3, table 4. Likewise, we can have n number of tables. In Oracle or in any database, there are many objects. You can create many objects, and table is one of the object. Object 1, object 2, object 3. Now what is object? For example, the different objects may be, say, views, synonyms, store procedures, etc. We call it as objects. Table is also an object. So we can have n number of tables and objects. Collectively we call it as a database. So a database is a collection of tables and objects. A database is an organized collection of related data or information that is stored in a computer system. A database, as we know, is a collection of many objects. But this database may be in relation to e-commerce database. It can be a student's database. It can be a accounts database. Similarly, we can create n number of databases. And collectively, these databases, this collection of databases, we call it as Oracle database system. Let's summarize. There is a table A which contains rows and columns. A table is a collection of related data which contains rows, we call it as tuples also. It also contains columns, fields and attributes. Every row and column contains data, and data is a facts and figures like 1, 2, 3, Ajay, Vijay, Rita, etc. These are data. Similarly, we can have another table, say table B. We can have another table, say table C. A collection of such tables and other objects, as I explained below, we call it as a database. Say database A. You can also have database B. You can also have database C. There can be n number of databases, and we collectively call it as a Oracle database system. Which is managed by RDBMS. This is our data processing software. We have to issue various commands or different commands to RDBMS in the form of SQL so that it processes our data and we generate our information, our meaningful information. So that's all for this particular video. We're learning more informations about Oracle database in the coming videos. Thanks for watching.